Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another walk and talk video, and today we are talking about crypto and how bullish things are seeming to be. There are of course some concerns. I've kind of aired these quite a bit most recently and pretty much consistently on the channel, for those obvious reasons. I kind of covered this off I think even a little bit this morning as well on those macro level timeframes. But today we're going to focus in on the more medium term because there are some opportunities here for some pretty decent gains to be made in the crypto space. So as I kind of get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button, I appreciate that. If you're new, subscribe and let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Now what I'm doing here is essentially grabbing the camera, getting away from the desk and trying to get a little bit of exercise whilst talking to you guys about crypto in kind of a raw, uncut, kind of natural way, hopefully a little bit more personal as well. It also doubles up as a great opportunity to get away from the desk and get some exercise. As you can kind of tell, I'm a little bit out of breath already just through walking through the woods here a little bit this afternoon. So let's get into kind of the meat of today's subject, which is crypto and obviously being bullish on crypto for the kind of medium term, okay? Potentially even short term to a degree. So we've got a lot of positive things going on at the moment when it comes to cryptocurrency, right? We do see some pretty cool things going on around the world, such as, Bitcoin spot ETFs, Ethereum spot ETFs, and most recently, when we actually dive into kind of some of the daily charts across various different cryptocurrencies, we can see that momentum shifted down most recently on the shorter time frames, and actually it is flashing up with some bullish hidden divergences on those daily time frames, such as Solana, Chainlink, Bitcoin, and just to name a few, but there's so many more also flashing these very bullish signals as well. Now, in terms of crypto market generally, all of these things that we're kind of talking about in terms of Bitcoin spot ETFs, Ethereum spot ETFs, bullish, hidden bullish divergences, these all kind of have a result in inflows. Essentially what we're talking about here is potentially billions of dollars flowing back into the crypto market. And these are going to be pretty decent for, I guess, how to articulate it, just for those early level investors, people who've been invested or been getting involved in cryptocurrency over the last couple of months, may be able to take advantage of these moves to the downside, maybe even a year ago when, we were seeing substantial moves to the downside and being able to take advantage of them. And so with potentially so much money flowing in here, we're going to see a lot of gains be made on some of these altcoins. That being said though, I'm still bearish on the macro level, okay? So although we can be really confident about those micro structures, what's going on the daily charts, the macro level isn't as good. And so I do want to kind of caveat the fact that I am bullish on the medium time frame here with the fact that the bearishness still remains there on those macro levels. Now, don't get me wrong, that can change. It doesn't have to always be that way. We may find that that bearish sentiment dies away and we actually end up in a really bullish way on those macro levels as well. That's definitely something that we need to kind of consider as a possibility, although I think quite remote. And mainly, if we were to dive down into the data a little bit, well, say not data, but so much kind of the real world and what's been going on, we can consider that there's a few interesting developments most recently. Obviously, there's an array of different wars happening around the world, which is really not great and could have a negative impact on the price action on the kind of longer term. We also have this new virus that's kind of coming out. I think they called it swine flu. And it was announced yesterday here in the UK that there's the first confirmed case. And well, we'll see whether or not the UK government and these governments around the world are going to try to repeat what happened back in 2020 with more kind of, stricter rules and pandemics. Now, to be fair, I think that would actually only really be a short-term bearish move. So if we reflect on the previous pandemic, I don't really want to call it that, we could see, let me just actually rephrase that, because when I say if we want to call it that, past the previous pandemic. It's implying that there's going to be another one, and that's not really what I mean. But if we take a look at the COVID pandemic, there was a short-term move to the downside that was very, very quick, very rapid. And then we saw a reversal in the market very, very rapidly. And that is, again, a result of, basically printing a significant amount of additional money. So if we are to see something like that happen again, is it necessarily bearish? I mean, you'll have that initial kind of move to the downside, that mass panic, for sure you would, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's long-term bearish. So we've got to kind of consider that as well. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that these are kind of moving goalposts, right? On the daily timeframes, we can be confident on the move to the upside. I've been talking about $40,000 Bitcoin for quite a bit of time now, and we're kind of finally getting to a place where we might finally get that leg up there. On the macro level time frame, I've been talking about $20,000 for quite a period of time. And we can see potential moves down there, Fed pivot, maybe a new pandemic, that could kind of get us there. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be sustained down at that low level. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a new lower low either. It does mean, though, that we could see, if we do have another pandemic that is similar to what happened back in 2020, more printing to help the governments ease their way out of these potential situations that they find themselves in, which could then result in more money flowing into the crypto space through artificial inflation. What that could mean is essentially we end up in that bullish market next year, which would be absolutely fantastic for so many of those early crypto investors. So I guess kind of to try to summarize this video a little bit, because I know I've kind of rambled on a few different subjects here, that I am bullish on crypto at the moment, and I have been bullish on crypto for a while. But we can't ignore what is still there on those macro level timeframes. So I'm still expecting our kind of medium term move to the upside. We're expecting $40,000 Bitcoin. I'm expecting Solana to continue moving up. I'm expecting Solana to actually perform really, really well. I'm hoping that it actually gets above the $100 level so that we can be really confident on its reversal in the market and where it's going next. And so for the most part, I look at all these different cryptocurrencies as altcoins. Some of them are really well positioned, others probably not so well. And if we were to see another pandemic crash like we saw back in 2020, many of those altcoins will potentially go back down into new bear market low points. But that's just a great opportunity to dollar cost average, in my opinion. It's not to kind of say we swing out of the market, we swing back in the market. And you can do, but I think it just comes with higher risk right now. Ultimately, dollar cost averaging is the strategy that I believe is kind of the one to go for at this particular point in time. It's kind of one that I'm following anyway. You can let me know how you feel about that in the comments below. But I think essentially the purpose of this video is to kind of say, I think we are in a bullish environment at the moment on this medium term. We might see the remainder of this year kind of trying to push up a little bit, at least towards mid to end December, where I do expect some of these institutional level investors to actually start selling off to clear and balance their books by the end of their financial year, which would be December 2023. At least from the US standpoint anyway. And so I'm expecting, maybe in the next few weeks or so, a bit more of a rally to the upside. But after that, really, all cards are off the table. I think essentially you could see a bit of a move to the downside, consolidating, and then if there isn't a pandemic, if all of this kind of stuff blows over with swine flu, then we might end up in a pretty reasonable position to see a Fed pivot, bring those interest rates down, and start to actually see that healthy correction of 40% for Bitcoin and 50 or so % for those altcoins, get them into nice accumulative phases, and then start to really rally up in 2024, probably in Q2, Q3, something like that. That would be my kind of estimate on it. So yeah, I think we're in a pretty decent spot. I'm quite happy with my portfolio, but I'll quite happily add more to it as we pull back. Hopefully you guys are in similar positions. Your portfolios are looking pretty good right now, and hopefully they're performing really well for you. Let me know in the comments below how well you think you're doing, whether you need to be adding more to your positions, or whether you're quite happy with where you sit right now and all that good stuff. I think though, guys, I am going to leave this video right there. If you have found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.